I think it looks kind of crazy behind us there. The lawn chair inside. When you're like in total, the kids are coming mode. We've rearranged the entire house for the baby because the baby is in the little wheel thingy. I don't what do they call not bouncy, but
it's a walker, I believe.
Yeah, the baby's in the walker, and so you're trying to make sure you got room. I think that's probably a better shot there, but because how often do you see a lawn chair in the house? It's insane. But hey, it's a chair, and we sit in it, and it'll work. It's because we're in total Christmas mode. Everybody's getting here tonight. There's excitement here in the house, and I'm tired. And Christmas lights to put up, more Christmas lights. It's Clark W. Griswold. DJI is in the house. Good to see you, DJ. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome, everybody. My name is Bill Marion, and this is A Nose for Life. And I'm so glad that you are joining us for this broadcast, for this amazing night of nostalgia. But none of us are really going to relate to what we're talking about. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm just going to tell you ahead of time, it's unlikely that you're going to connect with some of the topics. Hello, Junior Foreman. He says, awesome day and good evening. Kilted Adventure says, hello. Toby, I did not use, what is it, Boo?
DJI just said, go check the GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Look at that.
What's our totals?
As of right now, he's at $962.
Yes, we are halfway there to DJ's thing. We'll talk more about that later. That is good news. And DJ, does that count the money that's been actually sent there by mail? Because that would be really interesting. But anyway, let me go back to this and say this, and we'll come back to that. So I don't even remember why I was at. I got so excited on that.
I'm sorry.
Oh, wow. No, that's great. I saw Carolyn over there dancing, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. She dances, though. She enjoys dancing. So I was like, well, okay. Is that what we're going? All right. So, wow. Someone donated like $700. Praise the Lord. Excellent. So
yeah, anonymous.
Wow. So they donated $700 to the Facebook anonymous.
There's a $500 for anonymous, and it was done like 15 minutes ago. And then 16 minutes ago, another anonymous did $212. So yeah, $712.
Not counting what was sent in, that's $200. Because there was $200 sent directly to Firestone too.
Yeah, it's not counting that. This is just
praise the Lord. Wow, that is awesome. Teresa and I are here now. Hi, y'all. Man, Dennis, good to see you. Today we're talking about something weird. We're talking about being blessed and knowing that DJ's getting blessed. That's awesome. But we're also talking about Christmas 100 years ago. What was Christmas? What was Christmas like 100 years ago? What was it like in 1921? How far removed are we from Christmas way back then? And it turns out you probably knew this already, but nobody was asking for iPhones back in 1921. Go figure. It was a different kind of world. It's a different kind of world. But their houses for the most part were powered up. Electricity was spreading all across America, even going into the deep south, not quite penetrating into the mountains just yet. But electricity was happening. Actually, the world had electricity for some time. The Biltmore in 1898 was pre-wired to be the size that it is, and when it was built, I think it's the largest house in America to this day, and that it was pre-wired for electricity is pretty amazing. And that was in 1898. It used the DC generators or whatever. Not DC Comics, young people. I mean, like the diesel fuel generators, big generators down in the basement. It's really cool. If you ever get the chance to go to the Biltmore, it's a good one-time thing. I'm being honest with you. For about $2,500. You can, and I say $2,500 because I'm giving you the package deal here. No, I'm not representative of I'm not a salesperson for the Biltmore, okay? But for about $25, you and the missus or the missus and the husband can go to the Biltmore and stay a couple of nights at one of their nice hotels. And I'm talking about food and all, and visit the Biltmore. Remember, it's $80 a person to get into the Biltmore. So that includes that. But I'm saying food and all, probably gas too, for if you live on the East Coast. And you'll have a good one time. Are you following me on that? I know because D-Lo, he comes in here and he talks to sometimes. D-Lo gets annual passes to the Biltmore every year. They go several times a year. I've never found it that great. I love the mountains surrounding the Biltmore a lot more than I love the Biltmore. But I love it's a great place to go that one time. Anyway, they had electricity. I always thought that was cool. An elevator, really cool. Back in 1898. They also have like gargoyles all around the place. It's really scary. I'm just saying, a lot of cultic symbolism. It's kind of nuts. But anyway, welcome 1921, and I got a little list here to talk about some crazy stuff because, man, you know, you think about Christmas, we get obsessed with Christmas of yesterday, like the 1940s. When you think of the picturesque in our age group, generally speaking, here, you tend to go back to the 40s and 50s. You know, I do. I go back to the 40s and 50s, and go back to the time of, you know, Bing Crosby. Not to be confused with Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young, because they probably saw elves, but it wasn't because it was Christmas. You know what I'm saying? And just looking here, due to its long history and enormous popularity, there are countless customs. And okay, I'm not reading that. That's boring. I thought I had what I needed access here, and I do not. So I apologize for that. I apologize. I've lost my notes here. That's never good. Well, we just don't have to use those notes, do we? Bottom line is that the song Bicycle Built for Two was out. And bicycling at the time was like a thing that people were doing. I know it's a thing now, but, you know, is bicycling really the thing that it was when I was a kid? I don't see a lot of kids on their bike like in the neighborhood here. I just don't. Not like back in the day. Now I see
adults, but not kids.
I see adults who are bikers.
Right.
You know, it's like a club kind of thing. There's a bicycle shop down the road, and that's the kind of people, you know, tall, skinny, bicycle helmet, like when they're getting out of the car, you know, and getting their bike off the rack or off the roof, and they've still got the helmet on, and they're sweating, and they're going like, you know, hey, how you doing? How you doing? You been up to the Parkway lately, bike? Yeah. Gary Millwood, hello. He says hello, Bill and Carolyn. Word, Gary, word. We were at the Skyline Drive one day, and this guy from Germany was biking, and he'd run out of water, and he couldn't get up the hill. And love his heart, I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, you got to train to you can't just go to Blue Ridge Parkway or Skyline Drive and say, hey, I'm gonna start bicycling today. You just don't do that. You better start around the neighborhood for a while. And Wilhelm decided he, you know, was just going to take off, and I gave him like 3 or 4 bottled waters. And then just started joking around with him, you know, saying stuff like, "What did you train hard for this?" You know, just stuff like that. Because Wilhelm did not train for he was hot. You know, he's not used to the heat, obviously, and it doesn't even get that hot here in Virginia in the summer. It'll probably be a barn burner this year because we're not having a winter. No winter. It was 70 degrees here today, which is just wrong. I guess the reason why, and I'm not trying to say that I hate that it's warm, because again, we've been in the South most of our life, and so it's kind of normal for us to be warm this time of year. I've been deer hunting in November when it's been like 85 degrees, and I was miserable. It was awful. But we're just sort of past 3 years accustomed to this time of year. It's snowing and cold. Junior Foreman says in 1921, people probably got excited about receiving the Sears and Roebuck catalog to use in the outhouse. Yeah, and occasionally they read it first, occasionally, but not always, because sometimes when you got to go. But yeah, Sears and Roebuck, that's how people got everything, especially out west. I always found, I don't know if this is true. I've heard that Sears got their start by selling sewing machines and for a really low price. And then when people opened their boxes, it was a thimble and needle and thread. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's funny. If that is true, it's funny. 1921, you got some radio going on. 1921, you're post-war, World War I, and you're getting into the beginning of the 20s and a time of a lot of speculation. This would have been a good year, I think, for a lot of people. I think it would have been a good year just based on some history stuff. Some exciting time. And it would stay that way for most of the 20s, of course, until the stock market crashed and the party was over. You know, we talk about the Great Depression. The Great Depression was officially declared over, I think, in 1951 or 52, in the middle of another recession. Isn't that weird? But it was declared over 20 years later. So it definitely lasted quite a while. I think that it was probably over long before 1951 or 52, but they made an official declaration or official proclamation. So the 20s and 30s, those are that's a fascinating time period. Really, anything you have the individual, the life of the individual beginning at the turn of the century, the 20th century, the life of the individual changes drastically. And you see that progress over Christmas about how things change from one decade to the next radically. You can argue that that is still happening today, of course, that we're still having these radical changes every 10 years. And I mean, every time I think we're kind of done with innovation and changes, and every time I think we're done with radical new inventions and technology, something happens. I thought we were kind of done. I really did. Back at the, I don't know, 2005, 2004, I thought, okay, all right, internet, got it. We're going to make it faster, but we get it. You know, you download music and movies, right? Come on. Oh, wait, you're not supposed to do that. But you know what I'm saying? Mm. And then along came smartphones, and wow. I mean, we have leapfrogged since 2010 to now. I mean, think about everything. I remember when all smartphones, the only thing you really thought about on your smartphone was playing, games and stuff, like maybe the pyramid game. I don't know if anybody played that one, little Indiana Jones guy, and you get the little diamonds. Temple Run. Yes. But then all of a sudden these things became like actual tools that everybody needs all the time. Little handheld computers that are, my current phone is faster than this laptop right here. It's better than the laptop. And so you're wondering now, okay, every time you think, all right, it's calmed down now, it's calmed down. All right, we've got a handle on this. Then there'll be something else. Maybe it's Facebook's new Meta. And first of all, I think it's wrong that Facebook is getting to use the word Meta, because Meta has meaning that kind of goes across different things. And so Facebook shouldn't be allowed to just use the word Meta. I have a problem with that right off the bat. Have you guys talked about Meta? Do you know what I'm talking about on Meta? Facebook's new world building tools so that you can be more addicted to the internet than you are now. Kind of crazy stuff. Junior Foreman, you've seen another outhouse earlier tonight. And so asking now, if you could go back in time to the 1920s, if you could go back, well, let's say it this way, to any decade for Christmas. And so we're just doing nostalgia for one night, just one night. If you could go back to a nostalgic time period and celebrate Christmas. Now, here's the thing. For some of you, you miss your parents and you will go back to any decade to be with your parents. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's understandable. But I guess I want to give you the freedom to say, hey, you know what? You don't have to go back. It can be another decade where maybe things were more peaceful, or maybe you just felt better. You were younger and felt better. So fire away. What decade would you like to go back to celebrate Christmas just one time? And I know that's difficult because you might have to say, like, in some cases, let's say it's the 80s, you would say 84, but not necessarily 87, 82, but not necessarily 88. So sometimes 80s or 90s or whatever is too broad. It's too big. You have to narrow it down. First 5 years of the 80s, that's fine. So come on, guys, fire away. Let's hear what decade you would like to go back and celebrate. And by the way, you don't have to be from that decade. It can be based on your understanding of that decade. For a long time, I wanted to go back to the 40s and celebrate Christmas, until I realized the movies I were watching, a lot of those were late 40s, early 50s. The war's kind of over, and that celebrating Christmas during the war would have probably stunk because of rationing, and it wasn't as nostalgic and cozy as they make it look on It's a Wonderful Life, right? But the 50s probably would have been a lot more nostalgic, a lot better as far as just Precious appearing. And I don't think, to me, it was Christmas just right. I mean, I know things are over the top now. I mean, the way we celebrate Christmas changed during World War II anyway. After all, we have the Thanksgiving that we have now because to get people shopping again, it was an FDR thing where they got behind closed doors and they're like, look, we need to we need to use this weekend to open up the stores. And it was going to be, the long weekend, Thanksgiving weekend. And they started pumping nostalgic music through the radio, and people started writing nostalgic music through the radio just to get us shopping more, to get the economy out of a recession during the war. So we kind of invented the modern Christmas feel, we kind of invented it. And it wasn't around before that time period, not like it is now. You see people buying toys and stuff in department stores, but not like it was after the war. 1950s, 60s, 70s, and the 80s, things were pretty amazing in that regard. You had a few recessions during that time period that kind of slowed things down. There was one in particular in the late 70s that, because of the gas crunch, that made things kind of difficult there for a while. But in the 80s, it kind of got back. Gary Millwood says, 1961, I got 2 trucks, nothing else as far as stuff bought, but my dad came home from the hospital. See, that's a great moment right there. And so you remember, because that was liberation, man. Dad came home. You didn't need anything else because Dad came home, and that's the best thing in the world. And so that memory sticks out because trucks come and go, but Dad's, that's awesome. I have so many good memories of Christmas. I could just go through. In the 90s, it changes because then I'm becoming a man, and I had my own kids and my own family, and so things get weird. And then when you're in college, it's weird anyway because you're somewhere in between, and it's just a weird thing. I remember I got out of basic and AIT though in '94, and I think I graduated December 7th, and we went to Michigan for Christmas that year with my grandparents and mom and dad, everybody, and big snow on the ground, and it was beautiful. It was just gorgeous outside. It felt good, looked good. I remember that. That was a great Christmas, 1994. I remember, so there were good Christmases, don't get me wrong. I remember my daughter's first Christmas. I remember mine and Carolyn's first Christmas as a family because we got married on Thanksgiving. So that was like the day after Thanksgiving. And then, just a few weeks later, it's Christmas. And so this time of year represents a whole lot to us, right? So come on, somebody else. What's your favorite decade? Come on, give us something. Oh, come on, folks. We're waiting on your responses. Don't act like you don't have an answer. We all have an answer to that question. The Christmases in the 80s are a little bit more special to me because when I say more special, I'm talking about as far as the Christmas look and scene and feel. We were still so very connected to the great generation, and they kind of made things special in a way that nobody after has been able to do. My goodness, the women of that era were super. Carol and I talk about this all the time. They were super women. The women in that era did everything. And looking back, because Carol and I usually share the responsibilities during the holiday when it comes to cooking and cleaning and everything. We've been cleaning today, and we'll take turns who's cooking and stuff like that. But my goodness, the women, they did it all. They did it all. My grandmother just did it all. And yeah, she complained about it too. Don't get me wrong. I've been working in this kitchen all day, but that was their right. They had a right to, because they were. So you're a turkey groom, Mr. Bill. Yes, indeed. Gobble, gobble. We had I'll tell you what, it was a fun. Brian G's in the house. Hey, Brian. You don't have to bring in an excuse, Brian, when you're late. It's all good. She's sorry I'm late. It's all good. We're talking about the best decade, Brian, for Christmas. Like, what would have been the best decade for you for any reason? There doesn't have to be but it doesn't have to be a sappy one about family, but it can be. It can also be the best year for music. I'll give you a non-family good Christmas, 84, 83. Both of those Christmases, you're in the middle of the 80s. And just, Cabbage Patch Dolls, Transformers, Star Wars toys, from a kid's perspective, did it get any better than the mid-80s? Atari. If you watch Stranger Things on Netflix, which is like nostalgia with jump scares, is what it really is. Nostalgia with jump scares. But that generation, that was my generation as far as, of those kids in that show. Big Frog Barbecue, what's up? 80s was the great togetherness decade that started going away with technology in the 90s. I agree. And Big Frog, I'll tell you, it's what I said earlier. Also, the great generation began to pass in the 90s in groves. We don't have many of them left now. And so that's another reason when they started leaving us. I remember Tom Brokaw in the mid 90s doing a special about that. And when they started leaving us in in big numbers. That's when Christmases got more and more difficult for families because the matriarch of the families were leaving. And so families were being kind of reconstructed. And then, of course, divorce rates had skyrocketed in the 60s and the 70s. And so what they used to call the nuclear family it was dissipating right in front of our eyes. Bringy says the 70s was the best for me. All of them, my teenage years. 70s, because I was born in 74. So it's like my Christmas memory begins in Germany. Dad was stationed in Gießen, but we lived off post in Butzbach. And I remember the second Christmas. I don't remember the first Christmas, but I remember the second Christmas there, and it was awesome. I mean, I remember toys. I remember the whole 9 yards, going to church parties and Santa Claus and all that stuff. It was great. But that's it. And we got back in 79, if I'm not mistaken, 80, 79, something like that, and got back to the States. And so I don't remember a lot in the 70s. I remember Mom and Dad watching One Day at a Time. And they watched Archie Bunker into the 80s, but One Day at a Time, I think I remember from like 78, 79, I think. Junior Foreman says, if I could go back to 1978 to 1982 when I was in the Air Force and get back all the money I wasted on beer and drugs, I'd probably retire now, man. Junior, we could probably swap stories on that. I'm thankful God got me out of it. I'm thankful God brought me through it. I enjoyed my time in the service. I enjoyed my time in the military. But yeah, there's a lot of time wasted. I always tell people, you remember that old Army commercial that said, we do more before 8 a.m. than most people do all day. And I'm like, yeah, but a lot of that is hurry up and wait. So a lot of that's kind of waiting on something. But anyway, I was infantry though. So what are you going to do? Juan Thomas says the 60s were a good time for your kids. You could be out after dark and playing and no one bothered you. Yeah. Those are the kind of things too. It wasn't even and paranoia had really set in the 80s. But it was still better than it is now. There's a reason probably why. I mean, I used to take my bike blocks away to my friend's house, and it was okay. Nobody had a fit. The subdivision was across the street from the school. I lived across the street from the school. So be home by the time the street lights came on. And that was in the 80s, a little bit more paranoia than it was the generation before. And of course, by the 90s, you've got kids wearing, no offense, because like I said, anymore, I'm starting to think about wearing a helmet when I hike now. But we didn't wear bicycle helmets. We would have died. I don't know what. Look, I remember when they passed the seatbelt law. I remember when they passed helmet laws for motorcycles. And when they passed seatbelt laws, that was a big deal. I remember when people, listen to this. I still have a vague memory, not in my family, but I have a vague memory of people who still had beers while they drove. Like, I can't imagine, like, maybe you're the type of person where, like, that's bad. It's bad because, like, there's no way around it. You're in trouble when that happens if you get pulled over. But when I was a kid, people still did that. And they didn't understand why people were out, like, we got to put a stop to this. It's insane. Bringy says, Juan, you may have been allowed to be out after dark in the 60s, but I sure wasn't. Well, things were a little different then because, being a female, the rules weren't equally distributed, were they? I mean, some people had to get back, women had to get back. It's like fathers typically were harder on females than they were with their sons. Junior Foreman says, yes, praise God, he brought me through it. Boy, if he didn't, we'd be dead. I tell you what. Big Frog Barbecue Cooking says, riding in the bed of a truck. Yeah, man, are you riding in the bed of a truck right now? Because isn't it cold? Well, it's not cold here. I just put Christmas lights up around our patio. It's not cold here at all. Yeah, Brian, it was the girl thing. It really was. My cousins didn't have the same. My aunt's only 18 months older than me. She didn't have the same rules that I did. She had different rules. And it's wrong, right? I mean, but is it really? I mean, if you think about it, especially today with what's going on, man, I'm surprised because my kids will tell you we didn't have company over much when my kids were growing up. As far as like sleepovers, you can count them on one hand, and they still gripe at me about that. Like they still get on to me about that, and I didn't let them do a whole lot until they got like junior high and high school because I was paranoid about our kids. We were just, I guess, overprotective. I don't know, but things had changed.
Well, I have no regrets.
Yeah, Carol's like, I have no regrets. But our kids throw it up to us constantly. Junior Foreman says, I remember riding on the shelf in the back window of a Chevrolet down. Yeah, back then, it was like, just get in. And if the family was fortunate enough to have like a station wagon, because we all know the fumes from the back are pure carbon monoxide, but that was fine because it helped the kids go to sleep, right? And you just opened up the window back there just a little bit, and you would just pile in. Now they've loosened up again here in Virginia and in Tennessee on riding in the back of a truck. Like you can ride in the back of a truck now as long as you're sitting in the bottom. They outlawed it for a while in several states. Juan Thomas said, my 3 sisters were all out. All the kids on the block played until 9. Yeah, in the summertime, Juan, you're right. Summertime, man, 9, 10. Man, sometimes this was in junior high, though, and this was in Tennessee. And I got to admit, I lived in what I call the golden age of Southeast Tennessee. Southeast Tennessee had really come into its own in the 80s and 90s, and towns like Cleveland just exploded. Chattanooga had been rebirthed after it had been called the dirtiest city in the nation. It went on a 30-year cleanup thing, and the southeast part of Tennessee, northeast Georgia, or northwest Georgia, Alabama, that whole area right there just exploded. And it was just the economy was great, and the schools were awesome. And so it's just a different kind of time period there. So I remember we played in the subdivision until 10:30, 11 o'clock every night. Everybody felt safe. Nobody complained. It was just good times. Juan Thomas says, my 3 sisters were out. The kids on the block played till 9. Bringy said, I know. When I got older and started driving and working, I had a midnight curfew. My mom said, if you live in my house when you are 40, you will still have a midnight curfew. Strict. How? Okay. All right. Well, this is funny. Carolyn's dying because we actually talked about this tonight. Our kids, when they come home with their children, it's not so much that there's a curfew, like you don't need to be out, past 1 o'clock. It's bad out there. You're going to get in trouble. It's a matter of don't mess my sleep up, And so what we're trying to get into their head now isn't necessarily like you're not allowed to play outside because they're all adults. It's a matter of respect of community, especially now, Oz and Anna are going out one night this week. We don't know which. They're like date night or whatever. And we were trying to tell them, like, we don't care. She's like, well, I just wanted you to know that you would have the baby. I'm like, we're going to have the baby whether you're here or there. It doesn't matter. It's like, and then I think she started understanding what I was saying. Like, dude, whatever, do whatever. It's all about the grandbaby now. But anyway, other than things like that, Crystal knows, because Crystal's back at home now for right now, and she knows, there's a curfew, but it's not because you're a kid or being treated like a kid. It's a matter of wanting to be able to go to sleep and not being up all night worrying. Gary Millwood said, I remember when all pickup trucks had a rifle and shotgun in the back window. They don't now? Oh, yeah, they don't now. It's just they're not all up in the window. Oh, Gary, I remember that too very well. I remember, matter of fact, I had a gun rack in my first truck when I was 16. And that wasn't that long. It was. I say it wasn't that long ago, but then I'm like 26, 36. Wow, that's been almost 30 years ago. Juan Thomas says, wow, Bringy, she made you toe the line. Woodchuck 3, born in the 60s, child of the 70s, coming of age in the 80s. I think I came along 20 years too late. Still love the 60s and 70s music the most. Well, that is music. I mean, here's the thing. If you judge too harshly on the quality of music in the 60s, especially, here's the thing. I love music in the 60s, but it matured in the 70s. I wouldn't want to spend 5 hours on that, but you go from 3-chord rock and roll, which is great. I'm not putting it has its place in the early 60s or late 50s and doo-wop music. But then there's a maturing that takes place by the late 60s and into the 70s. If you don't like music in the 60s and 70s, something wrong. I'm not saying you should listen to it all the time at all. No, I'm not saying that a bit. And sometimes, you want something new and different, obviously. And music in the 80s is good too. But there's definitely a sound change in the 80s, like a abrupt shift by 1984 when punk comes in style. But thanks for commenting, Woodchuck. Good to see you here, by the way. Bringy says, Gary Millwood, here in South Carolina, they still drive around like that. I talked about that last night in southeastern Kentucky. They still cruise. Bringy says, at Juan Thomas, all 3 girls had to toe the line. The 4 boys, way more freedom. Mary Leo, welcome, Mary Leo. Junior Foreman, Alice's Restaurant. Every Thanksgiving, Junior. Every Thanksgiving. We listen to what is it, Arlo Guthrie? Is that his name? But my son, my daughter, and both my daughters, my wife, we listen to Alice's Restaurant every Thanksgiving, and it's hysterical. That's if you listen to that song now, it's weird. Everybody, it's a protest song, right? But some of the things he says in that song, not necessarily progressive in thinking, just saying, it's kind of funny. I mean, he's anti-war, anti-draft, but some of that stuff in there is kind of anti-big government in general. Funny song, though. Really, really funny song. And love it. And my son is amazing at memorizing lyrics, and I'm terrible at that. I'm awful at memorization of lyrics. If I sit down, I can memorize anything. I mean, that it's not brain power, not all the time anyway. But my son, he's a natural. I mean, he just, if he hears it once or twice, he's got it. And he knows every single word, and he can imitate the guy, man. You can have anything you want. I mean, all of it from first to last. Hysterical. If you've never heard it, you need to listen to it. It's a long song, but sitting on Group W bench. Juan's like, I'm all over it, baby. Yes. Man, it's just, I can't. There's some of the lyrics I would sing, but I better not, because they might get me in trouble. But it's just hilarious. I remember the first time I heard that song, I was in college. I was on the way back from Union College on the way to Chattanooga. It was late one night. It was Thanksgiving weekend. And I'm hearing it on the radio, and I thought, what is this song? And had no idea that it was a thing. And they played it over and over again on this one radio station. And from then on, I was completely hooked at Thanksgiving on listening to this song. And apparently it's a thing all over the world. People listen to Alice's Restaurant on Thanksgiving weekend. It's almost like a holiday thing. It's not even necessarily a Thanksgiving thing. But the song is set. The setting is at Thanksgiving dinner. I love just the imagery of the song, too, is just hilarious. That this church has been converted to a house, and they just throw their garbage down into the bottom of the house. And then and they thought they were doing their host a favor by hauling the garbage off. DJ, I said, still watching and cooking dinner. But you know what? We have had a light dinner date. We've had a busy day, and so we had a light dinner day, and we've just been extraordinarily busy, which is why I'm kind of like right now. But we've been on top of it. We got company coming here in just a little while, so we're kind of focused on when they get here and getting excited and getting ready for that. It's been a long week. It's been a very long week. And so we're excited about things that are coming up here this next week and looking forward to it. Listen, while I'm here, and Carolyn, if you could go ahead and get that link up, I'd greatly appreciate it. While I'm here, we are in the process of a miracle. Okay. We're in the process of a miracle. DJI, his name's Nathan Williams. He's from Memphis, Tennessee. He's got 2 kids. He's run into an issue this particular holiday season. And the issue is that he can't get his car out of the shop and he can't get to work. A comedy of errors has taken place. And if you guys know anything about being young and having kids and the complications of life, these things happen. And on YouTube every year, 3-4 times a year, they raise money for every single cause in the world. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's good. It's good that we do that. But every now and then, I think an average viewer, you should reach out and help an average viewer, just somebody watching a YouTube channel, somebody that's involved with the platform. DJ helps out several content creators. He's been with us since we began back in 2016. I'm asking you if you would. I've never asked for money for me on this channel, not once. And other than memberships we're doing next year, I will never say, hey, I need this and this, unless it is a dire emergency. And this is an emergency, but not for me. It is for DJ, in the sense that if you can't get to work, you have these domino effect process that takes place, where one domino hits another domino hits another domino. And so next month, it could be where if he can't hurry and get his car out, or you follow what I'm saying, then all of a sudden the other bills start stacking up. And what we're trying to do is just reach out to DJ and say, listen, we're going to help. We can't do this every year. We can't do this for everyone, but you have to understand something. My son's name is Nathan William, William Nathan. William Nathan. When DJ told me, his real name, it was weird to me. It just blew my mind that my son's name is William Nathan and DJ's name is, think about it. It's the reverse of the other. And so immediately I wanted to jump in and say, okay, let's help. We vetted this. We made sure, that so that you don't think DJ's some con man somewhere or whatever. And if you notice here in the links, Carolyn is giving you the GoFundMe link. Okay. We're halfway there. And guys, this has been a process, man. It didn't come in like overnight, man. This has been like, man, some nights it's been like pulling teeth. I'm telling you what, I don't know how. Remember Jerry's telethon back in the day for Jerry's kids? I don't know how Jerry did it. Because it's one thing to receive an offering during the church because people know their responsibilities and all that stuff. But it's another thing to ask something for somebody else because you feel that pushback of like, why are you in my pocketbook? All I'm trying to say is that you can give to the GoFundMe or you can send an actual check, which is what a lot of people, when I say a lot of people, that's a couple people have asked if they can just send a check and not go through Facebook. And that's fine too. And we have all the detailed information. You want to make sure to contact Lori Talent. And there's the store number right there if you want to vet yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. And so we are grateful. First of all, I'm grateful that DJ and I have had the relationship that we've had where he came. He was brutally honest about himself, his life. He's been so straightforward. And so it's like, all right, we got an opportunity here. And so we are a great community. We're one of the best communities on YouTube. And our community is always increasing. We've increased by 1,000 subscribers this year. It's not as many as we've increased by in years past, but here's why. I didn't make any top 10 videos this year. Did you notice? And because it's, all right, some of you have heard this before, but I'm going to tell you again. Anyway, there's the GoFundMe. There's the address. But let me explain to you. If you go back through all my big videos, they're all top 10 videos. But I don't want to make top 10 videos all the time. This channel could be I could double my salary on top 10 videos if that's all I did. I'm not kidding you. I could double my salary. But I couldn't do stuff like this too, because unless people associate what your content is with your short, fat, bald face and all, unless they associate the two, then when they come to a video like this, they don't necessarily match the voice in their head of a top 10 video up with this. It's like, what? I don't understand. So when you do videos that are just voiceover and get people used to that, and then you come over here and you got the egghead going on, they don't get it. Now, Kilted Adventurer says top 10 videos, and he's got a sick face like, and you know what I'm saying? But some people, some people are top 10 because and if you go back and watch my top 10s, you'll notice when I do it right. You'll also notice when I do it wrong. I changed the way that the mic, I changed the mics. I changed the settings. I changed all the mixing to where I bring out the voice a little more and I do a little, okay, you know what I'm saying? I've got the radio thing going on more. So some people, Brand, you may have been there were some people like, oh, I love your voice in these videos. And you have a lot of those comments that they watch our top 10s and some of our other voiceover videos just because of the lull of the voice. And I'm like, thanks. Oh, wow. But, I'm just saying, I don't want to make top 10 videos. I don't want to. So we did grow this year. We grew by 1,000 subscribers. Our watch time is up for the year. And of course, I think I phoned it in a little bit in November and I'm paying for it right now. You know what I'm saying? I think I phoned it in. My videos were phoned in November and December and we're down a little bit, but that's okay because we'll make a comeback this next year because I got some good stuff planned. Woodchuck 3 says, I may be old, but I have seen Leonard Skinner live on stage twice. Wish I'd gone more. Leonard Skinner, of course I grew up with their music, right? Come on now. Sweet Home, North Carolina. I know the song. No, I'm kidding. Of course. Leonard Skinner, I grew up with Leonard Skinner, but they're still, by the time I was coming in my own junior high and high school, they were already kind of phasing out. But yeah, Leonard Skinner's classic, Southern rock. Juan Thomas says, Bill, I have an egghead also. It's just under my hair. Yeah, look, not everybody can have a crystal skull type noggin, but those of us who do, we're kind of proud. You know what? You should never be ashamed of your looks because the truth of the matter is that no one really looks like you, not like you. And you say, I'm a twin. But facial technology, man, they've got it down to where they can distinguish between twins. identical twins and everything else. So your face really is unique. And what is awesome about your face, whether you realize it or not, is your smile. And people who smile, this is what the experts say. And I don't argue with experts. I've told you guys that so many times. I just don't argue with experts. But when you smile and you talk to people, guess what? Even the Bible says it. To have friends, you have to make yourself friendly. And so when you say, oh, I'm ugly, I'm so ugly, it's like, no, man, just smile. Put a smile on whatever God gave you, and it is beautiful. I promise you. People that smile, people like being around people who have joy. Bottom line. And I'll tell you what else people don't like. And this is something I'm guilty of. I'm guilty. People don't like people that complain. I love complaining. It's like a pastime for me. And I don't mean that in a terrible way. I'm just talking about like, oh, my head hurts. It was something our family did. I don't know why, but you would come in and everybody talk about their aches and pains. Young people, it was like a thing. It's like initiation into the Marion family was saying, you know what? I think I've been sick. I think I'm getting sick now. Are you getting sick? It was like hypochondria for everyone. Do you have any stomach pills? I have stomach pills. Oh, good. I'll take some of your stomach pills. I've got these and they're not the right flavor. I need to take them back. Oh, I've done that before. Did you have that? And I can't imagine being around some of my older family that have gone on to be with the Lord at this point during the COVID thing, because they would have driven me crazy. Everybody would have walked around taking their temperature. It would have been hilarious. Kilted Adventure says, Crystal Skull, such an injustice to Indy. Oh, wait till you hear what Kathleen Kennedy has cooked up for this next one. It's on hiatus right now, and some people say that they might just cancel that movie altogether. It's that bad. Bob Chapek got involved. Midnight's Edge is a gossip, Hollywood gossip channel. There's a lot of those on YouTube. Some of them are good, some of them aren't. Midnight's Edge, there's some production quality there, and they're right half the time. Kind of interesting stuff. Big Frog Barbecue and Cooking says, you double your salary by doing an Opryland video. I promise you, man, I'm getting there. I incorporated the Dutch oven. I'm trying here. I'm trying. Gary Millwood, Bill, thank you for what you're doing for DJ. You have a great heart. You know what? Y'all are doing it. Y'all are the ones. Y'all are the ones doing it. And again, thank you for saying that. But man, and to me, what really makes a community is when people want to step up and do something. That is what that means we're real. It means we're real. We're not just Strong's Adventure, and he's not in here tonight yet. He's not in here yet, but you never know. I almost started crying. It was really weird. I got misty-eyed. It was lump in the throat, the whole nine yards. Because I made this video about the Dutch oven. It's still on there if you guys want to watch it after this. And it's a silly video. And it's really not even coherent, But I made it for you guys. I made it for our Vlogmas crew and the Dutch oven and all that. Even though this summer I am hoping, this winter too, I'm hoping to contribute to this thing they call hashtag Cast Iron Wednesday, where this group of people, they all throw up their cast iron videos on Wednesday. I'm like, I could do that. It sounds like a good time. So I'm going to try to get involved with that. Some at least. I might not be able to do it all the time, but we were pushing his channel because I love his channel. His channel really is that good. When I push people's channel, there's a reason. They're good channels. And so he put our channel on his video, like via link on his main page for his Wednesday thing or whatever, his hashtag Wednesday, Cast Iron Wednesday. And it was just so sweet. It was like, oh man. So we got a great community. It's just awesome, Gary. I love, it's funny. I panicked this time last year, because our demographics, I had a good bell curve going where we had young people and it was a good bell curve the way you'd want it. And I was like, yes, but the people I love interacting with, I would rather grow a community than grow viewers. And because a community of people, man, there's just a lot more to be said about that. And I learned that from some other people on this platform, and you'll hear me mention them a lot. Like I said, I don't agree with everything they do, don't agree with everything they believe. But as far as the two people that invented the YouTube community practically, and that's John and Hank Green. They understood this platform before the platform understood the platform. And when I started the YouTube channel, it was with them in mind. I'm like, I would love to be able to build something like that. And we had that. Big Frog Barbecue says the top 10 conspiracy theories about Opryland. Actually, that's not a bad idea.
No, it's not.
That is not a bad idea. Because if you go back to the comments, Big Frog, in that video, there are everybody that works for Opryland or Gaylord Entertainment they all have their own theory as to why, and they know. Like if you go back and read the comment, they know. Let me tell you why, Bill. I worked there from such and such and such and such. I'm going to tell you why it really shut down. I mean, I don't know how, probably over 100 now of comments like that. And some of them make sense. Some of them are duplicate. You know, you get a sense that, hey, maybe there's something to this one because several people are posting that one thing. And then some of them are just downright crazy. You're just like, no, shh. But don't shush because they're the fun comments. I guess I should say that. Junior Foreman said Cast Iron Wednesday. Yes, that's it. Hashtag Cast Iron Wednesday. And Billy told me to put it in the description, and I did. But it was just so sweet of him to think of that. He's so funny, and Toby is too. Toby, I'm going to forget somebody. Gary just started a channel. Big Frog Barbecue, by the way, has an amazing channel. I mean, I could go on and on about everybody in here. I love it that it's almost like a group of content creators have got together and we just joke around and silly. We don't take ourselves too seriously, and maybe that's because we didn't start these channels when we were 18 or 20 years old and we're trying to become some huge TikTok influencer starting out on YouTube. You know, these are afterthoughts for many of us, just at the very best, a passive income. I want to sell my book through here. I'd like to do that down the road. Actually, I'd like to have a book deal. Okay. And not have to sell it through YouTube. I'm just saying, because self-publishing, you make more money that way, but that's just a whole other story. Junior Foreman sounds like a good day to have it on. Wednesday is a good day because you can actually get 2 videos out that way and still get exposure on both videos. You have your one video that maybe do whatever your normal topic is, but then you do your hashtag Cast Iron Wednesday, which you could make anytime because, you know, it's not too time sensitive, and then throw it up and it wouldn't interfere with the other video. Big Frog Barbecue and Cooking says, love watching Strong's Adventure. Billy cracks me up. He's just funny, man. He is just a funny guy. And no joke, the stuff that he does on there, and I've said this before, and I'm not trying to beat it to death. I know it sounds like I am. Because I was cooking the other night with the Dutch oven because I've done 2 practice runs. The video that I did with the pot roast, but then I actually made a quick jambalaya because I'm trying to get my when I say measurements, I just mean, you know, what it looks like because I don't use a measuring cup. And I had to buy my Tony's because in that video, I'm only using like salt, pepper, and chili sauce, but I use Tony's and Old Bay. And so I had to get my mix down on my Tony's and Old Bay because our Christmas dinner with Nathan is coming. My son Nathan is coming up at a different time for Christmas. It's a long story. I have to do this work schedule. So I'm making jambalaya for Anna and Oz and Crystal and Carolyn and Dad. And we're going to do something else with Nathan. We don't know yet. We're waiting to see his schedule. And so, because he's having to come later because of his schedule. And so that's our Christmas dinner is going to be jambalaya in the Dutch oven. And so I'm really excited about an a Dutch oven here in Virginia. Brangie said, correction, Juan's Dutch oven. Gary Millwood said, I have never been serious except when I had surgery. Well, that is serious, though. I mean, unless it's your funny bone. Okay, bad joke. Gary, you need to hit that area on 127 a lot. I think that's a great video. Gary's channel, he did this is like the largest yard sale in the world, and Gary follows it on 127. So if you like yard sales and you never heard of this, they have one up here in Virginia too, but it's not as cool as the one down there. The one on 127, it goes and goes, and he's got this little camera on his rear view mirror, and he just drives it, and you're just kind of in the car with him. He's talking. It's really fun. I mean, it really is. I didn't get to watch all of it. I watched like 20 minutes of it. And it's like you can scroll through some of it, whatever. And sometimes, by the way, and somebody may not realize you can do this because you'll avoid a long video. Now, hear me out on this. And I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand if you ever do that, but I'm going to teach you something you may not know. Some of you may have been doing this for years. Some of you may do this to my videos. It's okay. You go to the little gearbox down there somewhere. It's a little gearbox. Now, you can't do it during a live stream, so don't try it. But you watch the video at either a quarter faster or half faster. You can watch it at a faster rate. You still make out what they say most of the time. And if you see something really interesting, you go boom. And you push play. Strong Adventures in here. I was just talking about you. I hope your ears were itching because I was just bad-mouthing you, man. I was just bad-mouthing you. And you weren't in here. No, I'm kidding. I was talking about your channel and stuff. But yeah, so you can watch videos. Let's say you're waiting on something, or let's say I've posted like the longest video I think we've ever posted. I think was it this year, the Skyline Drive, 105 miles of Skyline Drive, and I forget how long it is, like 35 minutes. Oh, let's talk about that video real quick. And again, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I don't know how many of you guys watched the 105 miles of Skyline Drive. You talk about a flop. Now, it's getting views, and it's going to get views because of the thumbnail and because of the keywords. But Carolyn and I got up at dark 30.
Yeah.
Dark 30. Now, driving to Front Royal from here, about an hour and a half, right? Yeah. 90 minutes, maybe an hour and 45 minutes. Drive up to Front Royal to the northern entrance of Skyline Drive and we're excited. We're going to get everything on the Skyline Drive. And we know it's going to take us to 6 or 7 o'clock that night. It's in the summer. It's hot. When we get to the top, the air conditioner goes out. As we're driving down the road, I notice right off the bat that these forest fires out west, out in Oregon, has traveled all across the U.S., and we have nothing but haze on the Skyline Drive. It is a terrible looking video. It's an awful looking video. And I was so excited. We're going to try something like that again next year. We may even try it on the Skyline Drive next year, but probably in the spring when you have cold mornings, and so you can have cold and clear mornings. Because, man, we also would like to do all of the Blue Ridge Parkway in 2 days. That's something else we've talked about. That'd be a lot of fun. But that video, if you watched that video this year and went, ugh, yeah, I agree with you. Bill, we all want to know when your next video is. Well, like I said, the Dutch oven one just came out. My next real video will probably be January 15th. That's what I did last year. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I have no idea. And the reason why Vlogmas ends December 25th. My schedule, it really depends. See, the truck, we've got to finish the truck. In other words, get the truck taken care of to get her back in action after the 25th. In other words, after the kids have left. I think by the time Nathan leaves, it's the 26th or something like that. So we're waiting until they leave to wait into all that action. And so then it's just a matter of getting in the routine. It's also a matter of making content. I want to make content that you guys haven't seen us make for 50 times. I love going to Skyline Drive. I love going to Blue Ridge Parkway. We're never going to stop doing that. I love going to West Virginia. But we are really doing a disservice by not doing what we started out doing, which is going to a variety of places. The only problem is where we live now, that variety is cold in the winter. It's very, very cold. So that makes it kind of difficult. So that my next video, other than live streaming, we live stream every night at 9ish. Gary Millwood said, thought of you today, but my video was too long. Or thank you, Toby, my video was too long. I don't think it was too long because, like I said, what happens, Gary, is I just hit the, like you go through one part, you might fast forward a little bit, make the video you want to make, Gary. And, make it how you want to make it. There are things, it depends. If you want your channel to take off, and a bunch of people to watch it, then yeah, you want to have a video that's under 15 minutes. Heck, make it under 5. The problem there is getting your watch time to get partnered up. It gets complicated and crazy. And I'm not an expert. And if you do watch at half speed, you'll get half the watch time. Well, yeah, that's true. You're exactly right. But if it's a 38-minute video and you're not fast forwarding all of it, you're fast forwarding a little bit of it, then, it balances out. If you subscribe to a channel and you watch a lot of somebody's video, it'll work out. It all comes out. It'll be fine. I would rather somebody watch all of our videos and get and especially if they're stopping when they see something they really want to focus on, then to be like, that video. I would like to make longer videos. I think that's what kills me. I know YouTube is recommending 8 minutes now, and they have the shorts. And that's because younger people, their attention spans are getting less. Middle-aged people, their attention spans are getting less. And it's kind of I like making longer videos. Tempia Fletcher says, hey, Tempia, how are you, baby girl? Baby girl's on here. My cousin's on here. My cousin started out in photography back when she was 12. Her name is Tempia. Tempia, put your website up there, man, if you still got one. And she's a phenomenal photographer. I told you I watched your videos. Strong Adventure says, Juan Thomas, when we feel like it and when it is fun. Yeah, Strong Billy, there is no rhyme or reason with your video. You're not consistent at all. You're just like, whatever. I love it. You started out, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, I got to tell the story on Strong. It was 2 years ago, right? It was the Christmas before COVID, and I'd bought a ham and did not know what to do with this ham, and went into a panic. And Strong's Adventures actually let me. I didn't. Man, I mean, we've talked a lot since then, but at the time, I had never had a conversation with him, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Can you contact me? And through Facebook, and he actually gave me his number, and he saved my life. And I think the best ham I ever made, based on what you told me to do, was this past Thanksgiving, is what everybody's told me.
It was the best.
Yeah, Carolyn's still saying it's the best. And I used Coca-Cola and maple syrup, and then put a candy glaze on top of that. But he actually let me call him, and he walked me through the process on doing something with his ham. It was great. Juan Thomas says, Strong's Adventures. I like watching you and Rhonda. You two make videos enjoyable and funny. They do. They're hysterical. Guilty Adventure says, go to DC in the winter. That'd be a great video. Okay, are you being sarcastic? Because that was my first video in DC is in the winter in February. So I figured you were being sarcastic, Toby. I don't know. We did. We froze to death.
But
and
the crowds are minimal.
Here's the thing. I took my son to DC. Like that, when we first moved to this part of Virginia, because we're only like 90 minutes from DC, it was like a thing. All of my family members, when they got here, we went to DC. And so it was like Nathan, it was like his time to visit. He comes up in his truck, and he built his truck in high school. The guy's amazing. He's a great mechanic. And he drives up to DC with me. He's driving, and he's got a Dixie horn in the car. Rebel flag in the back. I'm not making this. You can't make this. He's born in the South. What can you say? And here he comes, that right there where you're going to parking somewhere, but you're not exactly passing the White House. You're passing down in front of it and on the big road, and then you're turning up to one of the parking garages. And so we park, and then on the way out that day, he hits the General Lee horn on the way out. You were to see the looks. I wanted to crawl under the seat. I'm not trying to say a pro or for or against. It's just my son is crazy. Now, he wouldn't do that now, though. He's grown up a lot since then. Because when you're 18, there's a mentality, and now he's like, I wouldn't do that now. I'm like, I know, son, you've grown up so much in these 3 years. But it was kind of funny, We went to DC with the Boy Scouts in '84. Okay, was anybody wearing the Michael Jackson glove though in your group? Come on, they were. Admit it now. Did they have the Michael Jackson jacket? I know they did. Because you always had those people in school, man, that they break dance, they can do all that stuff. I couldn't do any of that stuff. I was always too chubby, believe it or not. It's hard to believe. It's like I had these 10 years of skinniness in adulthood, and then I reverted back to like the 4th grade me. It's really sad. So yeah, DC in the wintertime is my daughter's wanting to go up there, and her husband Oz is wanting to go to DC when they get here. And I said, check the website first, because things are kind of weird up there right now. I'm not talking about even politically. I'm just saying they've added a bunch of security stuff. There's a real big fear in that part of the country about these different variants. Is it called a variant? Is that what it's called? Or is that somebody that's trimmed the timeline in the Marvel universe? I'm having a hard time here. Oh, Bill, I can't tell them stories on here. Yeah, I get you. Woodchuck says, my favorite video of yours is on Snowy Mountain. Oh, Woodchuck.
Yes.
You have to understand something. I said this the other night. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm gonna stay here just for you. And I hope I don't make anybody mad by going on this. The other night on Vlogmas, I said this a couple of nights, that I try to capture the time Carol and I are having. And I'm going to work more on telling a better story this next year in the video. Like maybe you're exploring someplace, but you want to tell the story in such a way that it grabs the viewer and blah, blah, blah. But I always want to capture what Carol and I, the fun we're having together. We're authentic, real, whatever you want to call it. And we have a blast. Whether the video is good or not, there have been multiple occasions where we had a good time, but the video sucked. I mean, it's just one of those things. It happens. Every now and then there'll be something where we end up with a great video and we're like, wow, how did that happen? Arizona, the top 10 of Arizona is a great example where we were in Arizona under tragic circumstances, but I just kept the camera going and got back, and it was like a year later and I made a top 10 video, and that's how I met Juan, and that, there it is. That being said, we had just learned our geography when we made that video here locally. We went to West Virginia that day. We started out on Skyline Drive or Blue Ridge Parkway, and then drove back across the valley, over the mountain, and into West Virginia. And if you notice in that video, it's the pixelation is bad because I didn't even know how to film. I was still learning how to film, A, and B, it was an older iPhone that I'm using, and so it isn't even that great. But if people would watch that to the end and watch the part with the deer and all this, it was a glorious day. And that's when Carol and I fell in love with West Virginia. I said, this place is awesome. And I want a cabin in West Virginia. And, I've talked about that a few nights. I won't belabor that point of the Chainsaw Massacre cabin that I'm wanting at 4,000 feet near Spruce Knob. That Carolyn is like, yeah, you do. But I do love it over there so much, especially the Highlands. The Highland area is just amazing to me, I'm slowly falling in love with all of West Virginia. And don't get me wrong, I really like the conveniences of West Virginia because there is no cell phone service in West Virginia. Like, good luck with that. Good luck making that call, that you're needing to make. I love it that there are times throughout the year where even as a pastor, I can leave for a few hours and it's fine. But without a cell phone, it's probably not a good idea. So that makes it a little tough. But on Snowy Mountain Country Roads, one of my all-time favorite videos, even though it's, it hadn't sold many. I haven't sold many videos on that one. It doesn't get a lot of views. And looking back, I would make that video so much differently now. But it is still one of my favorite all-time videos because of how much fun Carolyn and I had. We hadn't lived here long. It was just a very good time. Very good time. Thank you for mentioning that, though. I appreciate it. Woodchuck said, members only jacket. It's about the jacket that I'm wearing. I think.
Was he the one that said they went to DC?
No, that's what he's saying that his favorite video is Snowy Mountains
never
down.
mind. I'm sorry.
Junior Foreman says, I have several Dutch ovens. I bought a cast iron wok Wow. And I use it more than the Dutch oven. I don't even know what I would do with a cast iron wok. I'm seriously, I don't know enough about that kind of cooking to even weigh in on that. Brenji says, that's the wrong turn, Cabin Bill. But that's what I'm wanting. Look, I'm trying to tell you guys, I wouldn't be the one doing the murdering. It wouldn't happen. I may rent it out to somebody who might. Can't judge people all the time. But it would be a place for me to get away with Carolyn and, it'd just be awesome. Sunday night after church, you go spend your day off in the cabin. Of course, that means that y'all's videos would be pretty limited to around the cabin because, it's kind of hard to travel and go to the cabin at the same time. And I've thought about that too. See, Carol and I made this decision a long time ago when our kids were little and we were planning to kick them out of the house, at least by the age of 10. But we were like, what are we going to do? And we asked ourselves, do we want to do the boating thing where you buy the little houseboat, jet skis, and every weekend you go to the lake or whatever, or in the summers you live on the lake? Or do you want to do, and we went through all these things that we wanted to do when it was time to do it. Because there's a time and season for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes tells us that. So we decided we wanted to travel. And we're not getting to travel like we would like to travel, but at the same time, it's not time for that. Right now we labor. We have a church we pastor. That's our focus. And of course, I've got assignments. I've got things I'm writing. I got things I'm doing here and there. And so it's not time to go play all the time and be here and there. Plus, it's really expensive. So we're kind of limited a lot of times to locally here in the Appalachian Mountains. What I'd love to do this summer is I want to make sure I hit the beaches in Florida at least once. We have a conference down in Jacksonville, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it Orlando? One or the other.
Let me look.
It's one or the other. And they've got it in the hottest part of the year, which is in July. And it's like, I want to go. Y'all don't go to Florida much, do you?
Oh, it is in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it St. Augustine? It's one of those places. Anyway. And so.
I feel like it's Jacksonville. No, actually, is it Tallahassee?
No, I don't think it's Tallahassee, but it's one of those. Anyway, the point is we want to get down to the deep South a while. I'd love to get to Alabama. There's a couple places in Alabama that I want to hit. And North Carolina, I'm never going to turn a North Carolina video down, ever. The mountains of North Carolina. Anything, Salem, too far. I don't want to go into Winston-Salem, but I'm talking about the mountain chain there, the Blue Ridge Mountains. But and in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, my goodness, awesome area. I mean, I know we all have different opinions about what's the best beach or whatever, but Myrtle Beach is still a quality beach, quality family beach. Like I said the other night, Gatlinburg on the ocean, but I'd like to get down there. We're supposed to have a Hilton thing where that we get points. By the way, if you guys do get into traveling, let's say you don't, and Billy, maybe you can get in on this, Tilted Adventure, somebody else we have a Hilton card and not a credit card. We started out
We're diamond members.
5 years ago, and you'd be surprised how quickly the points add up if you're in a hotel a lot and if you become brand oriented. And now, that being said, you have to be very careful. You have to watch what you're doing, because if you're not careful, you'll end up being a brand snob and broke. That's not what we do. But we do try to find ways to use it to where it's cost effective and then you get something back. But we're due to go to Myrtle Beach also this year. Hopefully, man, I mean, it sounds crazy, but by February, March. We have to call about that, by the way.
I know.
And I think it's like 3 nights there at the Hilton. It's a Hilton, but it's they're like condominiums or something. I can't remember. It's like 2 nights or 3 nights. Anyway, so that's a good idea. So if you guys, any of you guys that do travel a lot and you're in a hotel a lot, whether it doesn't have to be the Hilton brand. I used to work for Hilton way back in the day. I love that brand because the Hilton family is like DoubleTree, gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
We typically only do the DoubleTree.
Hampton Inn is another one.
Yeah, but
Hilton
typically
Garden.
only do the
DoubleTree. Ours is DoubleTree and Hilton, like the actual Hilton brand. Those are our 2 favorites. I'm not a Hilton Garden fan, but anyway, the point is, you can go with Marriott. I think Holiday Inn has its own deal, or is it Holiday Inn Marriott? I can't remember now. But all of those chains have their own reward system, and so if you're careful, you can benefit with those rewards program. I keep wanting to approach Hilton to see if they'll let me pawn something for them, shill for them. They have big name movie stars that shill for them, but I'm like, can I shill for just, money on rooms? That'd be awesome. Oh man, Carolyn, I would shill for just points on the Hilton card. I would totally do that. Strong's Adventure says, Bill, that stupid, utterly video we did was spontaneous, but me and Rhonda really just had a great time making it. Bill, that stupid, utterly video we did was, yeah, but to me, that's where they're the most fun. Yeah, when Toby and I went online last night, we didn't have an outline. It was different than a different kind of. There are times where when I want to interview somebody, I would make it more serious, excuse me. Like Toby, for example, if he just comes off the trail, and now that we have this software, and I would just connect with him through this and be like, all right, tell us about the trail. That's a serious conversation, or more serious conversation. But what I loved about last night, we're just talking. And keeping it lively. And that's a great time. Those are the best, those spontaneous times. We need to talk. That's what Billy says, Carol. Are you reading this?
Yeah.
We need to talk.
I just commented back to
Do you know how many circles Rhonda and I travel in? Yes, actually, I've put that together over the years. Because you were in NASCAR, like that, you had a channel like NASCAR for a while, but you shut it down, if I'm not mistaken. And I've seen your comments on, and I'm drawing a blank right now. And it was back when I was trying to figure out YouTube etiquette. Like, is it okay if I say, hey, what are you doing over in this channel? I didn't know, but I've seen you on other channels, like your comments and stuff. But that's been years ago, or a couple years ago. Renji, Myrtle Beach. Let me know when you go, please. Hey, that would be awesome. Meet and greet, Myrtle Beach.
Yes.
We want to do a meet and greet. Like, that would be awesome. And we wanted to do one. This sucks because we wanted to do a meet and greet which really is just like, hey, y'all, let's go to the hotel. I hate calling it a meet and greet like I'm a celebrity or something, because I'm not. But like, hey, let's go over here. Let's just all meet up and have dinner or something, and whatever. But you look at where everybody's from. They're from all over. And so I was like, we'll go the Piz Guy Inn. Because I don't want to go just anywhere, But there's nowhere to meet. And there's a restaurant there, but they don't block any of it off. So there's like nowhere to go and just hang out. So that's one of the problems. Matt Sieber and I, the Bigfoot guy, we were talking about this a couple of years ago, because he hosts those Bigfoot things now. And just having a place to get together and have fun, Myrtle Beach would be great. But Juan's like, I live in Arizona, people. That's a long way. I'd do a meet and greet in Arizona if everybody'd go. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Definitely want to go back there.
Did we lose Gary already?
Yeah, he's saying goodnight.
Oh, good night, Gary. Juan Thomas says, last night was a good show. Toby has got a great, I'll tell you what, I struggle with Toby because I love his shtick on the whole kilted thing. I think it's going to blow up for him. He's already, I mean, he's had a great year for just starting out. Golly. And there was a branding issue. We talked about that on his channel at first, where he had a great guy that he's partners with as far as in their video adventures. And his friend moved, he and his wife moved to Texas. And so Toby's like, all right, I got to rebrand. And so he rebranded. Matter of fact, we actually pushed that channel on our Spruce Knob, his original channel. So Toby had to rebrand, and I think he's getting close to 400 subscribers. I think by the end of next year, he'll be partnered. He'll be monetized. I don't see why not. Matter of fact, at his work ethic, this guy's a Fortune 500 executive. I don't know if he's still in here, but he's always like, no, Bill, it's not all that. I'm like, Toby, I was a peon in that company, and he was like a corporate giant. So applying the same work ethic that he does in real life, there's no reason why. There's always something to do. Carolyn Marion, go look at Dan Van's channel. Are you already there?
I'm having trouble finding it.
That's on YouTube. It'd be Dan. I've seen that channel. That's a good channel. Carolyn and I are caught too. We were talking about, and Toby, we were talking last night about the vans or the tents. Remember, Carolyn was talking about tents attached to the car. Yep. It was funny. As soon as we got off here on the Facebook feed, this was hilarious. There was one advertisement after another one on these vans to put on these tents you can put on your Jeep. And I'm like, there it is right there. It's a thing now. The only thing is like, I'm still, you have to understand, we've seen so many bear out in the woods. I mean, I don't know how many since we lived up here. It's got me a little paranoid and about camping out in the summer, spring, fall. And when I'm hiking, I can't tell you how many times, because you don't film the whole way. I need to get a GoPro, and that way it just stays on. And I keep saying that, but I never do. I really need a 4K GoPro. Just that I wear up here, and it just that way, whatever I'm seeing, it captures, because having bear slide down the tree on me, or near me, it scares you to death. And it's happened so much that you realize a lot of these places that you want to go camping, man, there's bear everywhere. Strong says, I love that y'all are about to meet up, talking about a meetup in Arizona. Arizona is the biggest place that all the nomads are right now. I would love to do a meetup in Arizona. You don't understand. Arizona, that's a dream of mine. If you want the truth, that's one of those where I'm kind of, you sit kind of fantasizing about what would be awesome for your channel that really, it's not going to make you money. It's not going to get you more views, but you would love to do it. You would love to video that moment. You would love to just capture that on camera and put it on your channel and be like, wow, this is a moment. This is a milestone. And that would be one, because it's such a long story that I wouldn't want to get into it with you guys, but it has to do with what happened when we went to Arizona. And a year later, we were moving to Virginia. And I mean, 1 year later, after this crazy Arizona thing, and I'm desperate for a video, and I put together, well, it was a little bit before we moved up here, but still put together this video in desperation. And it actually gets the channel to make, it actually gets the channel to hit 1,000 subscribers. And so I'm looking back and I'm going, wow, wouldn't it be awesome to go back to Arizona, especially under better circumstances? Went to Arizona a lot when I was a kid. Dad was an evangelist, so we were out there a lot in churches. I loved it out there. I had a cousin on mom's side of the family that lived in Phoenix. And I'll never forget, like, the pastor there, he lived in this trailer park, but the heat, the air conditioner wouldn't keep up, but they were used to it and we weren't. And so it was like, oh my goodness. And then of course, I'll never forget and I talk about it all the time, the temperature differences between Phoenix and Flagstaff any time of year. I love it. Carol and I both were more, of course I guessed it. Juan confirmed it, is that I would love, Carolyn said it too. We would love to live near Flagstaff. That's where we would love to live. And I keep meaning to look into the cost of living difference between there and here. Not that I'm ready to move, because right now God has us here, but it's just a very interesting place. My son even said it when Anna was supposed to, Anna had moved to Colorado. I mean, that was it for the second time. And they were going to set up house out there, and the job didn't work out. It was kind of not as advertised. It was a bad situation. And thank God they came home and got out of the situation before it got too late, and they had jobs waiting on them when they got to Chattanooga. But we loved going and visiting them out there. But it wasn't Arizona. Arizona's its own thing, man. It's its own thing. I love the I love Rocky Mountains. Oh, yes. Love the Rocky Mountains. I want to spend more time in Colorado. But Arizona is just, wow. I need 3 days in Sedona alone. Just not alone by myself, but alone, 3 days blocked off for Sedona.
Just for Sedona, yeah.
To hike and to rent dune buggies. And Carol, I said this one time in retrospect in Arizona, because again, we were not there to vacation. We drove around waiting for appointments essentially between days, because it's a long story, but we both said, even if all you did was you were in the pool of your hotel looking at the red rocks behind you, it would be awesome to be in Sedona. And the drive from Sedona to, and Juan, you probably know so much more about this, but there's a drive from Sedona to Grand Canyon, and they were paving it when we were there. It turns to a 4-lane, but it's a 2-lane for a long way, and then it turns to a 4-lane, and then you head out towards Flagstaff and to Sinead. It's not 40, to Sayin. And that road had a natural. It was a pine forest. Because you leave the desert and you go into the high country. People don't realize the Grand Canyon is at 8,000 feet of elevation. It's a plateau. It's crazy. So it's at 8,000 feet of elevation. So you climb the whole way out to the Flagstaff. You're climbing. And the bottom just dropped out of the temperature. These pines were everywhere. They were absolutely beautiful. Suddenly snow was on the ground. And it was May. It was May.
And I had packed, because I checked the weather in Phoenix before we traveled.
Yeah.
I had packed us for summer weather. So when we ended up going north, which we hadn't planned on doing, we had to buy sweaters. We were freezing.
I actually bought a coat. It's a Grand Canyon coat. I mean, it's a jacket. Carolyn didn't want a jacket. She wanted a sweater. And to this day she wears. I mean, it's like faded out, and then, it's called her house. It's her house sweater. It's a pullover. But guys, if you've never been to the Grand Canyon, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You believe it or not, you can get some affordable flight. And if all you did was rent a car, drive to the Grand Canyon, spend the night, and leave the next day, it'll change your life. There's no place like it on the planet. All of Arizona is amazing, but I know I've met people, and on that Arizona video, there are always people that leave a comment and say something like, I live 10 minutes from the Grand Canyon and I've never been there. People say stuff like that. And I just want to go, okay, the universe is not meant, God didn't create us all to be alike. So I understand that. But most people are moved by the Grand Canyon in a way that nothing else in nature moves them. I love the East Coast. I love the Appalachian Mountains. I love where we live. But there's something so incredibly unique out there. There's some downsides to living out there too. And we can get into that some other time about things that you need to be aware of I have looked into before moving to Arizona. Might let Juan Thomas lead that conversation. Mm-hmm. Woodchuck 3 says, Virginia Creeper Trail and New River Trail. Good times. Virginia Creeper Trail. I don't know. I do not know that trail. Unless I do and don't remember it. Strong's Adventure says, oh, good gravy. Half the folks we follow are in Arizona right now. Juan Thomas says, Strong's Adventures this time of year is nice even now. Tonight will be 8 degrees. Wow. No cloud cover at this time. People are camping most likely down near Phoenix. Yes, sir. Quartzsite is where a bunch of them are. Jenny Foreman says, standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona. Of course, I know that song. You were talking about, Junior, you were talking about Leonard Skinner. The Eagles had broken up when I was in high school, but they had such a tremendous, there was a resurgence in their music. And then, of course, in the early 90s, they got back together. But that was, their greatest hits tape, man, dude. I knew every single lick on the guitar. I mean, that was like life in the fast lane. And when they got back together, my buddy, my roommate in college got tickets to the Hell Froze Over concert or whatever. And he called me to go. It was during the summer break, and I joined the Army. And I had to ship out when we were supposed to meet in Knoxville and go to the concert. It's like, So, yeah, standing on the corner. Grand Canyon is beautiful. Yeah, it's awesome. Juan Thomas says, Junior Foreman, I live in Winslow, Arizona, about 30 miles. I live about 2 miles from the Painted Desert. Juan, I'm telling you, the craziest thing, when we were in the Painted Desert, again, it wasn't on purpose. We're driving around aimlessly. I mean, just literally, we kind of not camped out, but we ended up getting this room at the lodge at the Grand Canyon in the Yavapai Lodge. And you say, and the only reason why we stayed there, I actually stopped there as an afterthought, like, okay, I know this is going to be too expensive, but I just want to see. And the little girl behind the counter looked at us and she said, you know what, for you, and she wrote it down, and it was like $89 a night, which out there, guys, that's unbelievable. And so I went ahead and booked it until we had the appointment with the police because it was a tragic situation. We had an appointment with the police like 3 days later or 4 days. I can't remember. Anyway, so to keep my wife, just her mind busy, we would just drive. We ended up in the Painted Desert, and I'm telling you, I don't know how we got there. We came off the Grand Canyon, crossed 40, and we were just in the middle of nowhere. It was like the Twilight Zone. And we were back there for 7 or 8 hours in hail, storm. I mean, in the middle of nowhere, crazy in the middle of nowhere, and didn't really get to see the better parts of the Painted Desert like I had when I was a kid. Wasn't trying to go to the Painted Desert. We just kept seeing signs. We ended up on an Indian reservation for 2 hours. Have no idea how that happened. It's a long story. Catching up here in the comments, Strong's Adventure said, I wasn't impressed with the Grand Canyon. Maybe it's just me. Yeah, Billy, I don't know what to take. Dude, it's awesome. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say. There are some people that it doesn't. I'll tell you somebody who it blew their mind, but you wouldn't think it would, and that's my dad. My dad, when I was a kid, my dad was the type of person where he had to be pressured into going anywhere. Dad was all about getting to the church that he was supposed to preach at. I was homeschooled and all that stuff. You got there, you did your job, you left. And that's how he was. But he recognized certain things that were just, oh my goodness. Even when we were in Italy and he was in the army, Mom had to make him go do stuff, and travel and everything. But even Dad, when we got to the Grand Canyon, it blew his mind. I mean, he just could not believe it. And so if anybody in my life that I thought would be like, nah, it'd be Dad. That's just his personality. We're not alike at all in our view of life and beauty and all that. Dad's, I don't know, he's just weird. He's just different, But Dad, the Grand Canyon blew him away. The Painted, all of Arizona in general. Dad tells people all the time, you need to go to Arizona. That is one thing that we have in common. Juan Thomas said, I think every state has a lot of beautiful places. Have you been to Oklahoma? Listen, I don't say, if you're from Oklahoma, I mean, no disrespect. But there's a reason you vacation in other states. When's the last time anybody in this chat room has heard somebody say, you know what, I'm planning my vacation in Oklahoma? Nobody says that. Because they don't. I mean, even Nebraska, you can go, well, the west part of Nebraska is kind of pretty. I mean, it's kind of nice. But Oklahoma? The panhandle of Texas is unique. It is. There are parts of Louisiana that are so unique. I mean, swamps and delta. I mean, it's unique. You may not find it attractive, but it's unique. But Oklahoma? I'm just saying. If I'm wrong, you can tell me. If I'm wrong, I'll listen. Good night, Toby. Strong's Adventure Bottom, and you will see things you never thought were down there. That's what I'm wanting to do right there, is go to the bottom. Juan Thomas says, I'm not an Okie, Bill. I know you're not an Okie, and I wouldn't want to offend anyone who's an Okie. Bill Quum. Well, yes, Oklahoma's nice. Broken Bow. No, man, you can have it. You can have Oklahoma. Reggie Blake Shelton vacations there. It's called staycation. Yeah, no, Brent, doesn't count. Nope, that's called lazy. Don't want to go on vacation with all that money. Well, guys, I'm going to get off here too because I have kept you guys over tonight, and I'm just so grateful. I will still be here tomorrow night. Probably have Anna with me, I think. It depends. Probably have the grandbaby. We might have a crazy time tomorrow night. I don't know. I don't know what tomorrow night is going to be like. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be interesting. But you guys have a great night, and thank you so much for spending tonight with me. And remember, man, 100 years from now, we won't be here because it's a tie into the beginning of the video. Okay. All right. Bye. Love you guys.